Hi guys, I'm just going over task one here, and I'm going to go over it very quickly. There's a couple of sticky points, such as the table and range thing. So what I've done, okay, is I've gone on to, so just quickly to show you, um, there's a couple of things on here. You need to obviously open up this CSV file. Okay, and the first thing that you need to do really is to save it as course information backup and make sure you saved it as well. So you would go to Save As, um, you would find where it is, so it would be called Course Information Backup, and you would save it as an Excel workbook. All right. Um, so that's what I've done. So I've already done the last stage here first. Okay, but I've not put the password on it yet. All right. So this is to try and speed things up for us. Um, just to recap, what I'm saying is that I've opened up the course info CSV file from the VLE page. And the first thing I've done is to save it using a different file name of course information backup, and made sure that it's saved as a file type, an Excel workbook. All right, and that's what I've done here. The next thing it does is to say to convert the table to a range. Now, it might be that it's already brought it in as a range anyway rather than a table, but I'm going to show you what to do. There is all you do basically is at the moment I know this is a range, um, and not a table. And I'll show you this in that if it is a range already, your table icon will be blanked out. So you can't click on it because you can't convert a table to a table because it's already a table. Um, so I know that this is a range already, but just to show you, go through the the um, the process. If it's showing that table can be clicked, if you click table, it brings up a box that says where is the data for your table. Okay, and it sets up a range here, which is done from A1 down to G5. Sorry, G25, which is correct. So A1 to G25. It says my table has headers. In other words, these along the top here are headers, which basically tell you what's in each column. So for example, our target numbers are in this column here, C, and our year group is in column B. All right, so effectively, because we've got the headings along the top here, um, we've got headers, so that box is ticked. If I convert it to a table, it looks something like this. Okay, so it will add a basic formatting to it, and it'll also give you the option here to make selections on each of the columns. So this is created a table, but it does say that it needs to be a range. Okay, so we're just going to highlight them again, and if I right click in the table somewhere, it comes up with an extra box which is table. So I just want to convert this table back to a range again, like so. Okay, it's kept the formatting, which is fine for the moment. We can change the formatting later anyway. So if you're using the tools along the top here, you'll be able to do that. So you can again format as a table along the top here using a specific type of color if you want to. There's very dark ones, but I'd avoid those. There's like the ones that you might use with a black and white printer or a laser printer. And there's also color ones there if you want to add some color to it. So I could change it to purple if I want to. Um, so when I convert it to um, a table, I'll just go back again, back to a range. Okay, but it does keep the formatting. All right. It looks pretty yucky like that because I think it's combined colors. So I don't know whether I can do that. Yeah, just click normal up there and that'll work. Um, so it says name your first worksheet as core statistics. This is the naming ones down here. You can add sheets, as many sheets as you want to along the bottom, and you can remove them as well. So I'm just going to delete them back again. Okay, this one here is the one we want to change. If I right click on it, I can rename. Okay, and it needs to be called Course Statistics. Statistics. Yeah, there we go. Spelled right. Just checked. So add your name, today's date as a footer. So remember, headers are at the top, footers are at the bottom. So I'm just going to insert a header or footer. It's going to be a footer. Click to add the footer at the bottom of the page here. And I can choose whether it's centered to the left or the right. So it's got to have today's date in. So we should be able to insert a date into here. Blah, 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 where are we? Picture, there we go. Time and date. So current date. So it's going to automatically put in the current date in there. And in this one here, I'm going to put slam my name in there like so, and then if you click anywhere else it should jump back out of that. It's changed view, so it's showing you page view now. You can change views from down here, the little box, or you can go up to view here and just click normal to send it back as before. You'll see now that there's a very faint dotted line down here, and it's basically showing you where on a normal piece of A4 where the page borders are. So if you find that you're going onto two pages, it means that if you printed it, it would be split up. So very often what you want to do is you want to try and get all of your data all onto one page, or have it so that if it does go onto a second page, that it's formatted in a way that doesn't mess up your data when you print it out. So you've got bits and pieces on both pieces of outputted paper from the printer. So basically we've done everything we need to do on here. So I'm just going to save it and put the password on it. So I'm just going to do File Save As. I'm going to do a full save. So File Save As. Alright, it's already taken me to the right place. So I'm literally just checking it and just going, okay, let's save it. It's going to ask me one more time, do I want to replace it? Yes, I will. And I need to put the password onto it now. So I click File. There's the Protect Workbook area, and we want to encrypt with a password. So we'll just click that. So it tells us what the password is on the assignment down here at the end of task 1. So it's capital I, capital T, capital Q, 1, 2, 3, and then it will ask one more time, ITQ, 1, 2, 3, and there the permission's been set now so that it is protected. So that's task 1 done. Let's quickly move on to task 2. So I'm just going to check now what's going on here with the file information. So it says save the workbook file as an Excel workbook file format, but it tells me here at the beginning what I've got to do anyway. Sometimes this is at the end of the task, so you need to check first before you start the next task what the saving convention is. So it says that this now needs to be saved as course information v1b. So we'll just do File Save As. So it'll be called Course Information Version 1b. And it did say that it was an Excel workbook. So I'm just going to click Save. It's in the right place, so I'm in the right folder. And it's saved that at the top. So it says this is where we're going to start manipulating it now. So it says add a new row at the top of the worksheet and add the title Course Statistics. At the moment we're right up against the very top of the spreadsheet. Okay, so it just wants us to insert. So I'm just going to click in the number 1 there, which highlights the whole row, and then I'm just going to right click in there, and I'm going to insert, and it will know that it's a row that I want to insert because I've highlighted the row. So I'm just going to click insert. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. There are other ways to do it. So I've inserted one new row at the top of the spreadsheet or the worksheet, and I will add the title Course Statistics. I'll put it in A1 to start with. Course Statistics. I'm not worried about the formatting at the moment because that comes next. So it says format the title to a larger, suitably coloured font. So it's got to be larger. It can be any font, and it needs to be coloured. So I can just whack up to this. I can put in, I don't know, let's go for something that's too big. I don't want anything too flash. I just want something sensible. Verdana is one that I normally use as a default when I do stuff. STUV. So Verdana. Core statistics. It's bigger. It needs to be coloured, it said, so we're going to create a colour on it. Again, nothing too sharp. Probably go with blue. These ones here are quite bright. I would avoid those. Just pick in some of these. If I embolden it, it becomes much more obvious. Am I going to use that? Probably not for the moment. Choice is yours though. Just make it sensible. So the next thing it says format all worksheets to have a bold column headings and that all data can be clearly viewed. So this is, we've only got one worksheet at the moment. It has bold column headings. When it says format all worksheets, okay, any subsequent worksheets that we make, we need to make sure it's got a similar style of column heading. So I'm just going to read through and see what it wants us to do. Okay, it's not telling us that we've got to do anything obvious. So looking at this, one of the issues we've got is we need to auto fit the data. Okay, a lot of it is still unformatted. So I'm gonna. The trouble is now if I double click on this to auto fit, okay, it's taking the length of the heading in there. Okay, and this kind of works, but it has dumped it off into the next. You'll see here that this is going to be printed on a separate piece of paper because you can see our dotted line down here. So we've actually gone onto a second sheet. So I don't want to do that. So at the moment, I'm going to manually drag it back here and just continue with what it's telling me to do. Format all worksheets to have a bold column heading and that all data can be clearly viewed. Okay, so it's giving us permission to do what we need to do. So let's embolden these with a bold button. I'm gonna, just looking at it, it's size 11, which is quite small anyway, so I'm gonna leave it at that. It's still currently on a single page, so this is our full page basically of A4 on the left margin and right margin. If we go into H, then we're on another piece of paper in the printer. So this kind of fits. So format all worksheets to have bold column headings and that all data can be clearly viewed. And right now it can be clearly viewed. To check if it can be clearly viewed, we can actually zoom out and just use a page layout. So we can zoom out, and this is what we would have on our piece of paper. It's got today's date and it's got my name on it under the bottom. And you can see everything on there. You can see a second sheet of paper is here. And at the moment, none of this data is on a second sheet, so that's looking good. Alright, so I'm just going to click back to normal again. So normal view. It says format all numerical values to include 1000 separator, formatted to 0 decimal places. So that's all numerical values. So these are all numerical. Alright, this is textual. This is textual, even though it's got numbers in it. It's not a number, that's text. And this is text as well. So actually this here is our only numerical values. So it says use 1000 separator formatted to 0 decimal places. So I'm just going to do that even though none of the data has decimal points in it. So I'm just going to, my way of doing it, you can use like the things up here as well, but I'm just going to right click and use my format cells because I always do that one. So it needs to be a number. formatted to 0 decimal places. Just check the data isn't money or anything else. It's just numbers. So it can be a number with 0 decimal places, and we're going to use the comma separator. So some of them have changed, so you can see these ones have added the thousands to it, but we haven't seen any change in terms of decimal points because we didn't have any decimal points in before we started. But it does mean now that you can't use decimal points, it has to be whole numbers, which would be right because you couldn't have half a student unless it got very messy. And again, the same with the number of registered people and the number of completed people are all going to be whole numbers, unless you start messing around with averages maybe, which we're not. So we're just going to take these as whole numbers. So it says sort the data in course statistics worksheet to ascending order of course name and then year. Okay, so sorting, basically, I think we did this yesterday. So again, if you highlight data, you can sort it. Okay. You need, when you do this, you need to make sure that you tell the spreadsheet that it's the whole thing, because if we just did this in alphabetical order and this data stays the same, because this data, we haven't highlighted this data, we've only told it to do this column here, okay, then we would have a problem, because basically then this data that I've highlighted here wouldn't match the correct data in here like it is at the moment. So for example, IT user skills would be down here somewhere, and the data for it is up here, and it would, IT user skills would be down here, so it wouldn't line up with it anymore. So we have to do the whole thing. So when we're doing a sort, we just need to make sure that we're doing it correctly. So we just quickly will sort by column. So we want course name first of all. That's what it's telling us to do. And we want to do it in alphabetical order from A to Z. All right. And then we need to add a level to that because we then need to sort it in year. So we need to then sort it by the year group. I think that's what it's telling us to do. Ascending order of course name and then years. So then year value A to Z. So it's from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So that what you should have is year 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully our sort will work. It says here my data has headers. So just make sure that that is ticked. Usually when you do this sort of thing, it can see that already. And hopefully this will work. So yeah, that's worked now. So you can see here in alphabetical order, just to check, C's, F's, H's, I's, S's and T's all together. And then because we did it in year order as well, it does year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So we know the data's worked, and you can see that the data flicked around. And you can also see here with IT user skills, data's very similar as well. You can see here this is where the thousands are. This data here is pretty much the same as well. The customer service group as well is around about the thousands as well. And you can see here with the Sage groups, it's very low. So it's grouped it. So I would say that's a good way of just visually checking that it's all okay. Right, so we've done the sort. So it says use find and replace to change all instances of error in the referred column to 0. So let's just see. So what we want to do is we want to change this where it says error in this column to the number 0. So you can use the find and replace function or just change it to 0. I need to remember where find and replace is in here. It's probably in review. Nope, can't remember where it is. Probably screaming at me now saying, hey, it's in such and such a tab. Sort and filter, no. Find and replace, find and replace, find and replace. Again, it's something that you don't normally use a great deal of. You use it in Word quite a lot, but you don't normally use it in the spreadsheets, which is I'm going to use as my excuse. Find and select is what I've got here with editing, so it's in the Home tab. Um, so let's try it this way round. I'm just wary because I've got zeros in here already, but I'm trying to change the word error. So I need to just check everything here. So I'm going to highlight my table, find and replace, replace. Okay, it's asking me what to look for and what to replace it with when it finds it. You'll notice the find is on there as well, so it will actually point out. It won't actually do the changing, but it'll point out where where you found a certain term or word or whatever. So we're looking for where it says error. Okay, and we're replacing it with a big fat 0. So that's a 0, not an O. Okay, so I'm just going to do replace all. Okay, and it's completed it, and it had 24 replacements. And you can see it down here, it's changed everything from error to 0. So I can close that tool now. Let's see what we've got to do next. So create a new column in a suitable location with the heading percentage. So it's telling us it needs to be a suitable position. So in terms of percentages, I would probably put it in here. One issue that I'm seeing here is that that's going on to the next page. So what I think I'm going to do is to change the page layout. So let's change the layout we'll do it in a minute actually. I want to just add the percentage in there. Target registered, completed, passed, referred. I just need to check. For each row in the percentage column, create a formula that will display the number of learners that have passed. Okay, against the target value that was set. So there's the target and there's the actual. Okay, so it might as well be after that point. So it could go in G, but we'll put it in H. So we'll just do percentage. You'll see here that we've, it's updated it automatically. So pretty much anything that goes into this column now will be done as bold because we highlighted the whole lot. So you'll see it there that that's switched to bold as well. It's just mimicking everything because everything in this column here we told it needed to be bold. So we're doing that. What are we doing? So let me try and change now page layout. So we're just going to go to orientation and we're going to change it to a landscape page. And the reason I'm doing that now is that if you look at the page now, it's still on one sheet, but it's landscape rather than portrait. So that is that's much better as far as I'm concerned. Okay, the next trick it wants us to do is to create a formula that will display the number of learners that have passed against the target value. So if I just look at this, so I need to do percentages. So I'm just thinking the best way of doing this. I need to be based on target and those that have passed. So I'm comparing those two. So just looking at this now, the target was 750, but the actual number that was like another 200 on top. So my percentage is going to be over 100% because more than our target was only 750 and actually 956 people passed. So if 750 people had passed, that would be 100% of the target would have passed. But we're over that, so we're going to be looking at about 120%. Just trying to remember in my brain how to do percentages. Now you can and you may well use functions that you've already got in your brain, but I'm going to try this. So I'm going to take this, and I think is it divide as multiply. I think I need to remember how to do this. It needs to be in brackets, I think, and then multiply it by 100. I think. We might not need to do the 100 though. Is that right? No, that's the other wrong way around then. So it is C3 and F3. It's still wrong. Let me just. So I'm struggling to do the percentage formatting. So I'm going to use a bit of common sense now. I can't remember how to do it. So I'm actually just going to say how to do a formula. How to do a formula. Okay, so how to calculate a percentage in Excel. Okay, so I'm looking for an easy version of how to do this. You can poke around and see what you can do. So here it is. So it wants us to do, so to calculate the percentage of a total, and there it is. So it's doing the percentage of these. So I'm just going to basically use the formula that they've used there. So that's equals. They're talking about A1, so but I'm going to use that divided by the target or the past. And I know that's wrong because we should be well above that. So I think what's happened is that it's the wrong way round. Hang on a minute, that formula is crazy. So let's just move it the other way round. Okay, so let's just go equals, and we are looking at that one divided by that one. Okay, and that's looking better now, because at the moment this isn't formatted to, let's bring that back up, not that one, let's try again, that one with that one, okay. This isn't formatted as a percentage yet, but I know looking at that, that's going to be 127%, which is roughly where my brain is telling me that this needs to be. If it was 100 or 1.0 something, I would know that my past figure would be the same as the target figure, roughly. But I know that more people have passed than our target, therefore we're going to be over 100%. So 127 or 128% is roughly where I'm thinking we would be correct. All right. So I think that's right. So having done my little bit of research using a little bit of independent common sense and so on and so on, I'm now going to copy that formula down. All right. Now you can see if I'm using the little box that's at the bottom right of this, I'm going to copy the formula down to all the other ones. And I can kind of see that it's working now because obviously this one here is 0% because 0 people passed. and we had a target of 850, so that's 0%. So I know that's worked. We've got a figure here of where we were targeting 900 people to pass, but we only achieved 855. So just looking at that, I know that's about 95%, which is what that figure will be once we've formatted it. Do we have any ones? This one's close to 1. So we had a target of 750 people and 802 passed, so that was just over 100% passed. All right, so the formula's good that I've used, but I just need to now format it. So I'm just going to highlight this. Okay, it just tells me here that format the data display as a percentage and to 1 decimal place. In other words, we have a point and then a number after that decimal point. So I'm just going to highlight it, go through my usual format cells. It's a number. It's 1 decimal place. Sorry, it's a percentage. Excuse my stupidity. It's a percentage and it's 1 decimal place. Just check that. That's correct. Right. So I will click OK. So we have a numbers now that are percentages. Okay, with 1 decimal place, even though this one here has a 0.0 after the end of it, so it doesn't round it up to a you know, to like a whole number. So I know that this has worked now. This definitely is right. So the number past that one there with a target of 800 is around 100%, and it's just over when I look at that, which makes me think that this is correct. So I've applied a little bit of common sense. I've done a little bit of my own research and I've found out how to do percentages very quickly. Okay, let's jump back on here. So for each percentage calculated, apply conditional formatting that changes the color to red if the target hasn't been met, or green if it has been met. Okay, so conditional formatting. All right, so for each percentage calculated, apply conditional formatting that changes the color to red if the target hasn't been met, or green if it has been met. This is a bit awkward. Let's start with the first one. So I'm going to click conditional formatting, and from that I want to have just a highlight cell rules. Okay, so I need to basically say where anything, I need to work out where the boundary is of pass and fail, or where it wants the split in the colors. Okay, so it's going to be red effectively if it's 99%, or if it's 99.9%, or if it's 99.999%, it's going to be red. But as soon as it flicks over to 100, it needs to be green. Okay, so I need to be careful with my boundaries here, because if I say 100%, let's just work that out, where it's greater than. So format cells that are greater than, I need to change that to why is it asking me for a range? I think we just put in 100%. Format cells that are greater than 100. Is it 100 or 100%? There we go. So you've got to put percentage in after the end of it. At the moment, what it's doing is it's looking at the 100%. So anything greater than 100%, it should actually be 99.99, I think. So I'm gonna use that. Let's delete that a minute. So it's going to put 99.9%. Okay, and it's filling it with, so anything greater than 99.9% is, at the moment it's filling with a red, but we want it to be a green. So if you click in that box and do it with green fill, you can custom it if you want to. Is that going to work? Yeah, that kind of works. Okay. Right, so just checking it. So if it's 100, let's do it with the next one. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So obviously this can be slow, but we'll try and speed it up in a minute. So where it's greater than, so again, it's going to be 99.99%. It's going to be, if where it's greater than, it's going to be filled with green. Let's just see what happens. At the moment, it doesn't do anything, which is really annoying. Okay, so that now means that we need to do something differently. So blah, blah, blah. Let's take a look here. So where it's less than, let's see if we can actually add more rules. No, that's not very useful at all. Okay, so here we've got let's try this again. Used if we highlight this, so we're going to have a highlighting rule here where it's greater than 99.9%. It's going to be so where it's greater than that, it's going to be green. Okay. Now the problem occurs where you've got the reds. Okay. So let's see what happens if I now look for everything below. So we'll do less than this time. So it's going to be anything less than 100%. Okay, not 99%, because we've got to manage our boundary. So 100%, and we fill it with red. So basically anything that's less than 100% has a red. Okay, so that kind of works, but it's a bit clunky. Alright, so it's automatically gone through anything that's under 100% and it's done that. Okay. And that's basically conditional formatting. So that, I think, is everything we need to do in here. Now I've already saved it originally here, so I need to make sure that I'm doing a save. Okay, so I've saved it. I've already done the save as bit to start with, so this file is valid. So I've done everything in the task 2. So I'm going to leave it at that, and then perhaps do task 3 separately. What I'll do, the hardest thing on the next task 3 is the link copy, and what I'll do is I'll put a video on the VLE for you. I'll try and find an easy peasy one. Basically, this is your master. Okay, so everything's based on this, so you'll be making more. So I think it probably says that you need to create a new worksheet. Yeah, so you create a new worksheet, or 2 new worksheets called Yearly Statistics and Performance Review. So you'll be adding those down the bottom here. But basically, the worksheets that are created in there are based on this data itself. So all of these link back to the data in here, meaning that if you changed any of the numbers in this master one, the course statistics, it will also change the ones in the other workbooks. Okay, and that's handy because if the data did change, or if there was an issue, or it was an active workbook, it then means that any of the other worksheets that you've got linked in to this table here will automatically update, and you don't have to do it manually, because if you do it manually, it'll be a right pain in the neck to maintain consistency and accuracy, which is something that we need to be making sure we're doing with data. Okay, but I'll cover this in the next video that I do at some point. when I get a moment to do it. But that gets you through the first two tasks anyway, so hopefully that helps.